What's up, YouTube? Got a new camera, so I figured I'd do some updates on the GC build. Not much has really changed, but just going over like plans and show the car off a little more again, I guess. Um, so the original process, if you watched, or the original thought process for me was, if you watched my previous videos, was to paint the vehicle myself. I bought a compressor, bought a sprayer, bought a bunch of different stuff to do that, and actually painted a bumper. And I have a video of me painting an RS bumper, the finished product of the RS bumper. Turns out that first off, that bumper didn't go as well as planned. The paint came out looking great. Problem was we didn't apply adhesion promoter to it before we painted it, and you're supposed to do that with a new plastic part. So we scuffed it, but we didn't actually apply that adhesion promoter, so the paint's just chipping off in like massive amounts. So that wasn't my bumper. That was a friend of mine's. He's a little bit upset about that, and I'm rightly so. I'm going to repaint it for him eventually, but for right now, he kind of the reason it's peeling and chipping is he takes it off road a lot, so he's not really as concerned. But that led me to think about just painting the car in general, and the time and effort that takes. That bumper took us 6 hours, and that was just a bumper. The whole car is an entirely separate thing. And you can see the car now; it's multiple colors. We got this is the original color of the car. This is a GM blue, and then there's a green hood. There's a fender that's just black. Obviously, I need a new bumper because this came off my old car, so you can see it was trimmed for fender flares, so it doesn't really come to this line. Yeah, gotta fill some holes in here, but so I was thinking, I've had probably 10 Subarus plasti dipped, 4 of them. Never had an issue with plasti dip. The reason I was going to go to paint was because this is the 2-door GC. It's pretty rare, and probably more of my forever car. The other cars, like, I've kind of gotten rid of because they're a little more common. GF wagons are pretty common. I had an 06 STI, pretty common, stuff like that. So this is a little bit more rare. I was going to paint it, kind of like keep it forever, but I feel like plasti dip is more my style. It's easier to do. It's definitely more of a cheaper budget kind of paint job, and it doesn't look bad if you do it right. I mean, I've done a plasti dip 4 or 5 cars, so I know what I'm doing at this point. I have a gun, and I'm able to do that, like the dip your car spray gun. So I know what I'm doing with that. And the other thing is, I didn't realize it, but since I've been buying plastic and painting cars for so long, or so many times, I developed or acquired quite a few dip your car reward points. So I have like $100 off dip. So it would basically cost me about $120 to dip my car, which is like, if I go to paint it, it's going to be, I have to do a lot of sanding. Obviously, I'm going to have to do some sanding anyway to plasti dip it underneath because there's a lot of things. But fill stuff, I'm going to have to do that anyway with the plasti dipping. But also, primering it, taping it off, then the base coat, then the clear coat. And all of that paint's going to cost me about $1,500, let alone at least a weekend's worth of time. Probably a week just getting it all, like a weekend to paint it, but like a week to get it ready to paint, and then worrying about the trim coming off, putting it back on. Finding trim for a GC is like impossible, or GC coupe, just because they're pretty rare and it's just hard to come by. So that kind of worried me too. So the plan right now, change of plans, is to plasti dip the car. I'm still deciding on a color. I think white, just because my GF8 was white, and I really like the white. Plasti dip, it was just looked really nice. It was actually pretty easy to maintain. So yeah, so that's where I stand right now with painting, or the color of the car. Give you a quick walk around and let you know what's needed again. So a bumper is definitely needed. A new bumper, that's $250 from Subaru, brand new. It's not a huge deal. Then I would need to, I hate this trim. So what I would do is I would take all this trim off and then fill the holes behind it. And that would take some time, some fiberglassing, probably like a day to do. You can weld those holes in and fix them that way, but I figured, you know, I don't want to. I don't have a welder and I don't want to have to take it to somebody, so I filled those holes in before in a previous build, so I can do it again. It's not that big of a deal. Then just minor dings and dents. You can see like a little ding here. Let's see. It won't be keeping this trunk. Won't be keeping that. And then there's this like leftover pinstriping all the way down that I would need to take off because the plastic dip that would show up, you can feel that when you run your finger over it. And then again, this is a reference to the size of the holes that will need to be filled. So there's that. And then to show the trunk that's actually going to go on it, I did, it's going to be low light out here, but hold on, let me get a flashlight. But I don't know if I showed this in the previous video, but I have a, oh, that battery's dead. I have a carbon fiber trunk with an RB5 wing, so that's just sitting out here waiting to be installed. And it's already white. So I had to fill in some spots because the previous owner put hood pins in the trunk for some reason, and I have no idea why. He said it was because, well, I do have an idea why. He said it was because he was going, when you go over 160 miles an hour, the trunk can bounce up and down. And he said he did that because he was tracking the car, which, I mean, with these cars, you can, I mean, you swap them, they're pretty easy to track. But when I went to go up to buy the trunk, I asked him to show me what was under the hood. He was rocking an RS25 motor, just the 2.5 motor, 2.5 RS motor with an intake on it. So it's like 160 horsepower. There's no way that thing would even go above 120 in like 4 miles. So I don't know why he just did that for decoration. It really pisses me off, but I got it for a sweet deal, so I can't really complain. So that's the steps with the body of the car. That's the steps for that. The interior, as I showed before, is complete in my mind. I may get a new steering wheel, but the interior looks good. WRX rear seats. Coupe door cards, which cost me $500 because they're so fucking rare. So that's the plan for the paint and the color of the car. So new bumper, new rear bumper. Because there were some stickers on the back. Let me show you that. There were some stickers on the back here that now are just divots, because somebody just was so embarrassed by those stickers, they just kind of cut them off. Somebody being me, they were really weird stickers that they had on there. So front bumper, rear bumper. Then I put on these side skirts over here, which are from my old GF. And then I can fill in the sides, those holes. And then that'll be it. Then I can plasti dip it. So that's the plan. I want to plasti dip it. You shouldn't really do it in cold temperatures, that cold temperature. So I want to do it probably in the next, probably March or so. I'll be plasti dipping it. Maybe earlier if the weather gets crazy warm, but I highly doubt that. I'm in the Northwest. It's like 50 right now. You can do it in the 50s. It's just, it's going to get colder and colder, and I won't have this stuff done in time. So that's the next step. In terms of the motor, if you haven't seen the motor, show that off. In terms of the motor, first off, I have a STI 6-speed transmission, STI Brimbos, the 5x114 hubs, and the wheels are 5x114. Complete STI transmission, hubs, drivetrain, the rear differentials, and R180. It's JDM. It's JDM V8 version 8 stuff. So the next step would be the motor, and I'm shooting for 400 horsepower. Like, that's my goal, is 400 wheel horsepower. I have accessibility to E85, so that's a good thing right there. That'll give you like 50 extra horsepower if you have you have enough fuel to get you there, or enough big enough fuel injectors and big enough fuel pump to get you there. But this is a WRX motor, so STI transmission, version 8 transmission, 02 WRX motor with about 190,000 miles on it. This has a VF48 on it, obviously a front mount. This is running about 280 to the wheels. So to get 400, I'm not going to be doing it with this one. I'm going to be doing it with, the plan is to get a version 8 STI motor. So that's around $5,500. But I know with that motor, I've had that motor before. I've wired it in. I've gotten it tuned. I know how to work with that motor. I know it's very capable and very reliable. Semi-closed block, so on and so forth, forged internals, things of that sort. So that's the motor that I'm going to be going with, because this is on its way out. And then I'll be getting the plan is to get a Blausch Dominator, 1.5, I think, 1.5 twin scroll turbo, because the version 8 is a twin scroll turbo setup. And that with some injectors, some 1300cc injectors, a fuel pump, and just supporting modifications there, should get me to that 400 horsepower range on E85. I have one pump around here that has E85, so I'm going to be doing a flex fuel kind of thing, so I can go from 93 to E85. That's the plan. And the first step was for Christmas here, my wife put this on my wish list, and she bought me this. This is a Innovate Motorsports E85 gauge. So what this does is this tells you the percentage of E85 in your gas. And I am nowhere near ready for this. But what this will do is this will send, the gauge is actually really cool. It tells you the 85 percentage, and then it also has an analog output to where you can it'll output what's displayed on the gauge via a 0 to 5 volt signal anywhere you want it. So you just take that signal and signal it to somewhere that's not being used by the car. Like for tuned cars, typically it's the rear O2 sensor, and then a tuner can use that rear O2 sensor voltage input to register what the current E85 or ethanol percentage is, and then your car can be timed and boosted off of that, which is really cool. So this was the first step, but all that stuff that I just rattled off like it was nothing is going to cost me about $7K. So that was another reason why I decided to go with Plasti Dip as opposed to paint, kind of function over form kind of stuff. So look, I mean, the car will look good when I'm done, obviously, but I prefer 400 wheel horsepower as opposed to it being a show car. So, and I like tinkering with wrenches. Sanding and painting is more of a tedious, more of an artsy kind of thing. I'm more of a mechanical kind of guy. So, yeah, that's kind of my plan there. So, that's kind of the update. Let me know your thoughts. If anyone has any thoughts, like, just mention in the comments down below. I've seen a couple builds with GCs with version 8 motors and 1.5 Blausch Dominators, and it seems like those things are, like, most people are pushing over 400 horsepower, which for a tiny car like this is just like a shit ton of power. Like, it's just not. I don't want to go for like 500 or anything like that. I know 400 is kind of like the upper end of what a version 8 can handle without fucking with the stock internals. So it's kind of the plan there. Yeah, so it's kind of an update here. Not much has changed, but I do have big plans, and hopefully in the coming months, I hope to have that motor by the end of summer this year, kind of going from there, or next year. It's not, the new year yet, but that's currently the plan. So one last look at the car in all its glory. Thanks, YouTube.